Shalom, my brothers and sisters, my Israelites, my Israelite brothers and sisters. This is Brother Yahoo Ben Israel coming to you today with a topic that has been in my heart to bring forth for a while, but I resisted it, and I finally put it together and bring it to you today, and I think that's very important. I've been dealing with that for years and watching brothers and sisters preaching in the street and teaching about that topic, but there are so many things that they are missing out, that they are leaving, that they are omitting, and I'm going to bring out today, and it's going to be a great revelation to you. The topic is a deeper understanding of Saint Valentine for Israelites. It's also for Christians. If you happen to be a Christian and watching, this is going to be very revealing to you as well. Let's open up with John 8:32. John chapter 8, verse 32. It says, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." Today you're going to be finding truth, and even deeper truth for those who actually rejected that pagan holiday a while ago. Because you're called, if you're an awakened Israelite, you're called to teach others, you're called to preach and open up the eyes of many to the power of His Holy Spirit. Let's turn to our attention to Ezekiel chapter 14, verse 1 and 3. The reason why I'm bringing out these verses is because many, when you are referring to idolatry, they have their mind set up on something tangible, like a statue or something tangible, something they can touch, where people can actually bow down physically to an idol made by men's hands. But idolatry can take many different forms, and we're going to see for ourselves right now one of the forms that idolatry can take. So please go to Ezekiel chapter 14, verse 1 to 3, and it says, "Then came certain of the elders of Israel, the only nation that the Most High chose, unto me, and sat before me." Verse 2, "And the word of the Most High came unto me, saying, Son of man, these men have set up their idols in their heart." These men have set up their idols in their heart. What does that mean? Idolatry can be in your mind, because the heart, as you already know in the Bible, refers to your mind. Okay? So, there are a few questions that I put down that I would like to answer throughout the course of this video. The first question: who created love? Second, was Saint Valentine around when the Most High created Adam and Eve? Third question: who set up Saint Valentine as the authority over love? Fourth question: did Saint Valentine provide you with your spouse, or did Saint Valentine help you find your spouse? Now, the problem with many of you, you never heard the term Saint Valentine. Many times I've been bringing that forth on Facebook. I've seen people being stunned, especially people who were born in the United States. I am from a French-speaking country. I speak French and I speak Haitian Creole. And there are more than, I believe, 24 French-speaking countries in the world. You will never hear them say Valentin, which is French for Valentine. You will hear us say Saint Valentine, which is Saint Valentine. That's part of the language. But you might say to yourself, but why are you bringing that for? Because here in America we speak English, and this is not part of the English language. But I'm going to bring forth to you something that can be very revealing. I would like you to see it for yourself. If you can, I would appreciate that if you can stop the video, what I'm bringing this forth, and then Google for yourself 2 things I would like to bring forth to you right now. Google Saint Valentine Feast Day. Stop the video, do it now. Saint Valentine's Feast Day. And secondly, I would like you to Google as well Saint Valentine. Stop the video if you can, please do so. And then once you find the information, I would like you to read it together with me. The first Google search should give you this. You should see it on the top of the page. Feast of Saint Valentine. It says, it reads as follows. Saint Valentine of Rome was murdered on February 14 in the year AD 269. The Feast of Saint Valentine, also known as Saint Valentine's Day, was established by Pope Gelasius. I hope I pronounced his name right. Gelasius I in AD 496 to be celebrated on February 14 in honor of the Christian martyr. That's for the first Google search. The second Google search I put forth to you was Saint Valentine's, and it reads as follows. Saint Valentine, Italian, San Valentino, was a widely recognized 3rd century Roman saint, commemorated in Christianity on February 14. From the High Middle Ages, his saint's day is associated with a tradition of courtly love. Therefore, there are 2 different saints' lives for Saint Valentine's on February 14, but they are probably the same. Now, if you want to go even deeper with that topic, you can actually get books, and you'll find out that some historian will tell you that that man never existed. It's a legend. A legend, by definition, is a story that is either half true or not true at all. But either way, whether he truly existed or lived on earth or not, there's something wrong here, and I'm going to bring it forth to you, to the information that you just read on Google. So the Catholic Church made a so-called Valentine a saint. If you're familiar with the Catholic Church, or if you have been in the Catholic Church, you will know that they have different saints for different areas of life, or many different things. For example, I heard somebody say that they have something like a saint to protect them. I was in a car with him, and I think he named something that I don't really remember. But this is the story of the Catholic Church. Actually, if you remember the late Pope John Paul II, who died a few years ago, he became a saint by the order of the Catholic Church. So whether that man named Valentine existed or not, the Catholic Church actually honored him and made him a saint, whom they have the entire world to honor, to give homage to on February 14. That saint goes even further. It is a God over your marriage. It's a saint of love in the Catholic Church. So every year, when you are celebrating that, actually you even refer to your wife or your husband as my Valentine. So you are dedicating or even rededicating your marriage to that God, an idol, a false God. Where is that God? There's probably no statue of Valentine's in any homes. Where is that God? As we just read in Ezekiel 14, verse 1 to 3, it's in the mind. Nobody's going to stop me this February 14 to do this or that. And you know what's going to happen. For example, if a man doesn't do what he's supposed to do and spend the money he's supposed to on February 14. So, let's go even further. According to what you just read for yourself on your cell phone or your computer or your iPad, there are two things I would like to bring forth to your attention. Two things that the Bible condemns: tradition of men and commandments of men. Let's go to Colossians chapter 2 verse 8 and see what it says. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. According to what you just read, who created that tradition? Was it given to us through the law, statutes, and commandments, which the Most High gave to Moses? Or was it created by men and made a tradition by men? Actually, there's even a deeper understanding in that verse. Paul was so smart, and I will even say so led by the Spirit, that he even mentioned Esau, whom you all know today as the Europeans or the Caucasians. He mentioned philosophy, not to allow men to deceive you with philosophy. Back then, who was famous, who was great to their philosophy? So he was warning the Israelites in that city to be careful not to follow, because there were many that who were trying to bring forth philosophy and mix it up with the gospel, with the truth of the Most High. And then Paul warned them about that. But that's not the topic in itself. But Paul also mentioned the tradition of men, that we should not follow the tradition of men. And there are many reasons for that. Secondly, I'd like to bring forth to you, these terms are pretty much the same: tradition of men and commandments of men. I would like to bring forth to you Mark 7 verse 7 from the Messiah himself, who said these words. Let me get it quickly, in a few seconds. Mark 7:7. Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. The commandments of men. Pope Gelasius I, whom you just read about a few minutes ago, he's the one who declared in the year 496 AD that February 14 should be set aside in honor of Saint Valentine. He, a man. Commandments of men. Putting aside the commandments of the Most High, whom we all Israelites should follow, but we are Rather, I'm talking about the ones who are not awakened yet. But we are taking on idols and false gods of other nations. Brothers and sisters, let me tell you something. The only, I will stay at a human level because I'm going to bring it forth almost at the end, the spiritual reasons. But the only human reason that you are celebrating these false holidays, pagan holidays, because you are conquered. Conquered by who? Wherever they went, they brought forth their gods. Just like everywhere they went, they brought Christmas. With my lips, I didn't say Christmas, I said Christ Mass with 2 S's. Who celebrates Mass? The Catholic Church, the Romans. Who are the Romans? Edom. Who are the descendants of Edom? Today, you know the answer. So that's the only reason that you are celebrating those pagan holidays. You took on somebody else's personality, somebody else's religions, somebody else's false gods and idols, while you rejected the true and living God of the Israelites. So, the entire world, including the chosen nation of Israel, we've been serving false gods the whole time. And I wonder, especially in the Christian church, I mean, everywhere, it's a pandemic, whether it's outside of the world, in the world or in the church, there's a pandemic of divorce, where every year people who claim to be together with their spouse, and turn their back to the Most High to honor a pagan god over their marriage, sacrificing their money, they have to buy chocolate and flowers and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that. You can do that any day of the year, but you don't have to wait for February 14 after a commandment of the Catholic Church to celebrate a Catholic saint while you pretend not to be a Catholic. You have to understand that the Christian church is an extension of the Catholic Church. And I'm going to prove that to you quickly. The Catholic Church invented or created Christmas. The Catholic Church invented Saint Valentine. The Catholic Church took Easter from Babylon and brought it into Christianity. The Catholic Church took the pagan decorated tree mentioned in Jeremiah 10, a tradition that was present in Babylon, whom the Most High warned the Israelites not to follow after. The Catholic Church took that tradition and brought it to Christianity and inserted it to what they call Christmas, and so forth and so forth. So, will you continue to dedicate or rededicate your marriage to the Catholic saint of love, Saint Valentine? Will you continue doing that? What if, at some point, you will face difficulties? Even the marriage can even go south. Will you be able to pray to Saint Valentine to fix your marriage? I thought you said that all praises is to God, or the Most High, of the Bible. If he created or established Saint Valentine as the God over your marriage, that's fine. You can go ahead whenever you face difficulties in your marriage. You can just go and pray to Saint Valentine, and I'm sure that he will intervene and fix your marriage. But if the Most High of the Bible did not establish Saint Valentine over your marriage, why would you dedicate yourself to celebrate it on February 14th? So, when you look at, for example, the Christian church, one of the, I would say, top prayer requests you may see or experience is people asking for prayers for their marriage, and a lot of ministers are praying on that. They are making a lot of money. That's why every time they are preaching, you hear them mentioning God is going to fix your marriage, God is going to fix, to give you money or to prosper you. They say things that they know that you want to hear, because people go through a lot of difficulties in their marriages. And it turns out that that same pagan pastor whom led you to celebrate Saint Valentine is the one who you're going to contact or email or call to pray for you if you're, for example, going through a divorce, or if your marriage is going south. Does it make any sense? Can you serve the Most High in truth and spirit and still observing the tradition that the Catholic Church invented or created? And I was a Christian for such a long time, and I heard pastors mention many times that we are not the Catholic Church. We do not do after the Catholic Church. We do not like their doctrines. We don't follow after them, so forth and so forth. But they celebrate Christmas, they celebrate Saint Valentine, they celebrate Easter, everything that the Catholic Church created. New Year's Eve. Research the term Eve to find out what it is. And all those pagan feasts or holidays came from the Catholic Church, and yet a pastor can stand before a congregation and pretend to be something different. While everybody who's being touched by the Holy Spirit now can find out that the Catholic Church is just the Christian Church is just an extension of the Catholic Church. Can we actually serve the Most High and still adopting gods from the other nations? I remember I was a member of a church in Brooklyn, New York, and that pastor, actually a bishop, he passed last year. I never knew that that man was married 3 times in his life. A powerful man who was one of the first black preachers on TV, well known, and but married 3 times. You know, but when you look at that situation where people are, there are some people we already know that are married, they just went after the lust. Okay, but there are some, maybe the Most High put them together, but in both circumstances, they both sacrifice or worship or honor or give homage to the God whom the Catholic Church put over their marriage. So what I'm bringing forth is not that if you reject Saint Valentine that your marriage will be perfect. I'm not saying that. What I'm bringing forth to you is that whenever something comes up and you pray and ask the Most High for wisdom and for His intervention in your life or in your marriage, you want to make sure that you are free of idolatry. You want to make sure that you reject those pagan gods. And there are many examples I can give to you throughout the Bible. But with Joshua, I believe Joshua 7, Israel lost a major battle. And Joshua actually cried out to the Most High, why? You have allowed us to lose that battle. And then there was somebody in the camp that took an idol, an object from some pagan nation whom they went, I believe, to fight against or to conquer. You can read it for yourself. That actually caused Israel to lose the battle. Maybe you in that situation, I don't know. You spend your entire life before you even married that man or woman celebrating that pagan holiday. It's not your fault. Your pastor did not tell you. Your pastor, whom you gave money to have a lavish salary, was supposed to have time to search the scriptures and teach you that whoever wants to celebrate it, go ahead and do it. But I'm telling you, I'm teaching you, it is from the Catholic Church. You should know that. Your church should teach you that. Especially in the day and age that we are living in, the information is right there. You don't have to go far to find it. I just showed you a few minutes ago that you can go on Google. And again, if you haven't done it, Google Feast of Saint Valentine and Saint Valentine and read what it says. That was funny. About 4 or 5 years ago, even when I was in the Christian church, I was very against pagan holidays. And the most I was dealing with me, even there. I remember I was in a Bible study, and I brought up the issue of that. I actually asked the pastor, is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is the Passover, the same as Easter? In front of the congregation in the Bible study, he said, yes. I said, Pastor, I was changed. Immediately. I said, Pastor, that is not true. The Passover, which is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, it has nothing to do with Easter. And I went on and on and on and on and on. In front of the congregation, he said he's going to look into it. I sent him an email with a text that I wrote about the difference between Easter and the Feast of and the Passover, or the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is mentioned in Acts 12. He was teaching that night on Acts 12 when I asked him that question. So that was a very touching moment. And when Easter came a few months ago, a few months after, he announced to the church that he's going to cancel Easter. And the Easter egg hunts that they used to have every year, he canceled it. And that year, I was hated by many because they saw publicly that when I brought forth that information that it was because of that the pastor had canceled the Easter egg hunt, which actually bothered a lot of people, and because they wanted their children to have fun. So I used to write texts. It's one of my gifts. I can write texts very quickly and then put them on Facebook and post them. I used to go to major ministries like Benny Hinn and T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollar, and so forth, Bill Winston, and post on their Facebook pages. But some did not allow that, but some of them did, like Paula White and stuff like that. And I remember on Saint Valentine Day, Queflodal posted a picture of him and his wife, and then stated that he celebrated Saint Valentine's Day. It was pretty much early in the afternoon, and then I quickly posted or commented that Saint Valentine is a pagan feast from the Roman Catholic Church. Why are you, as a Christian, who renounce, who pretends to renounce the Catholic Church, why you celebrate it? In a few minutes after, I was blocked. I was no longer able to post on his page or to comment. So this is how deceitful the pastors or the ministries, the Christian church could be. I'm not against anybody who is seeking truly for the Most High inside those churches. I was there too, but at some point of time, you're gonna have to leave pagan gods or the gods of the people who conquered you in order to find the Most High. And he cannot be mixed up with idolatry. I'm sorry. You will not find that in the Bible. Anywhere in the Bible, from beginning to the end, go to the Apocrypha, you will not find that. You cannot mix them up with the Bible. It's fine if you're married, you respect your husband, you love your husband. The Most High give you a wonderful husband according to you, or the Most High give you a wonderful wife according to you. You can honor or show love to that person anytime you want. I remember I used to know a man who died a few years ago. I witnessed him bringing a piece of candy every time he went out. He will not come back without bringing a piece of candy. Something very cheap to his wife. And that was very lovely. And I used to see that all the time. I used to sit down in her house all the time, witnessing that. So be very mindful of that. But Israel, my Israel brothers were specifically teaching in the street. I just wanted to bring that information to you as another way or another tactic that you can use when you're preaching or teaching in the streets. Lupercalia, that was the previous name of that feast, which the Catholic Church converted or packaged to become Saint Valentine. Yeah, I mean, you can start there and then tell the people just the way you've been doing. There used to be a pagan feast called Lupercalia, and then people used to have sex orgies on that day. But if you bring forth also the information that the Catholic Church took it and call it or name it Saint Valentine, and then make that connection that the Catholic Church is having the entire world to celebrate their saint, that will have a great impact on the people, especially Christian. They're going to find out, oh, my pastor never taught me that Saint Valentine is a Catholic saint, is a saint of love in Catholicism. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to make that video, to bring that information forth to you. Have the people Google the information. Have them take their phone or their iPad and have them to Google, for example, the Feast of Saint Valentine. Have them to Google Saint Valentine. Now, to my brothers and sisters who were born here in the United States, that's a research that you can do yourself. When was, for example, at what point here in America people stop saying saint? Because it's part of the name of the feast. You cannot teach about that feast without bringing forth that it is a Catholic saint. That's just the reality. You cannot leave that behind. I'm not trying to force myself on you. If you Google it, you will see it yourself. It's part of the name. Because if you omit That's the term saint. You're missing out on the meaning of it. And your teaching will be limited. As I stated before, if you show Christians that they've been worshiping or celebrating Catholic idols all throughout, that will have a greater impact on them, especially Saint Valentine. So I wanted to bring that out today. So I hope that I do not miss anything to my notes. But to my Israelite brothers and sisters, the word is coming out now, and also to my Israelite brothers and sisters who are in the process of being awakened. The truth is coming out now, and there's a reason for it. Okay? There's a time for everything. When we rebelled against the Most High in the land, He said that He's going to scatter us all throughout the nations. And there, because you didn't want to serve me, I'm going to have you serve the gods of the other nations. So it was prophesied. But the time is coming for you to come out, because the Most High is revealing His truth to you. The Most High revealed to you that you are the true Israelites. Okay? You want to find Him? You need to go back to the laws, statutes, and commandments and keep them. In the process, cleanse yourself up. Help Him to cleanse yourself by removing the idols that are in your mind. The pagan holidays. In closing, let's go with me to Deuteronomy 28 and 64. I'm just going to paraphrase it. You can read it to yourself, because this is very powerful. When I read it many times, all the time, it has a great effect on me, because we see through the curses of Deuteronomy 28 that the Most High really exists, and that His word has come to pass. He's coming to pass. And that's one of the reasons that you see our brothers and sisters celebrating pagan feasts. He said it, and it came to pass the way He said it. Deuteronomy 28:64. The Most High shall scatter thee among all nations. That means you'll be conquered. Once you're conquered, you're going to lose your heritage. Once you lose your heritage, the conqueror is going to impose his tradition, his commandments, his idols, and false gods on you. And that's what happened to us. The Most High said, and we're going to serve other gods in those places. And it came to pass the same way He said it. There's no way around that. It came to pass. But there was a time for that. It doesn't mean that because it is written that you have to remain in your condition. You're not going to miss anything, I'm telling you. I gave up pagan holidays a while ago. I don't miss anything. As a matter of fact, let me tell you something that you may never pay attention to before I close. Especially in this country of America. Starting, for example, with Halloween. People start eating unhealthy. And you go to next, pretty much, is Thanksgiving. Eating. And eating and eating and eating. And then you have Christ Mass. Eating. And you have New Year's Eve. Unhealthy eating, or eating too much. The next thing you know, you have Saint Valentine and chocolate and all that sugar and stuff like that. Next thing you know, by the time that people remove their jacket or their coats, they become depressed because they gain so much weight. Now they either become depressed or go to a gym. And then that cycle goes again the next year. What about your pocket? The credit card debts? Why don't you go back to the feast of the Most High? Give up those pagan gods of the other nations, of the Europeans. Saint Valentine is a European god. The God over your marriage, the God over your love. And let me repeat those questions again, in case you want to answer them yourself. Who created love? Would you agree with me that the Most High created love when He created Adam and Eve? Who set up Saint Valentine as the authority over love? Was it the Most High? Did Saint Valentine provide you with your spouse? Or did Saint Valentine help you find your spouse? If yes, continue to celebrate Saint Valentine. If no, leave that stupidity alone. Leave those false idols and gods to the ones who were not chosen by the Most High, the true and living God of this world, the Most High of the Israelites. On this, I say shalom, my brothers and sisters. Be blessed.